Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rick Webb, President of the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame.
Wow. Well, I hope you've enjoyed your dinner tonight. It's my honor at this time to introduce the inductees and representatives of the class of 2025. I would like to ask the inductees and their guests to come forward as I call your name, gathering here below the steps. Greg Ellis. Nora Lynn Finch. Raleigh Geiger. David Gentry. Dale Inman. Bobby Isaac, represented by Patsy Isaac. Cullen Jones. Chester McLaughlin, represented by Leon McLaughlin. Wendy Palmer. Jimmy Ray. And Miles Wolf. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the class of 2025. The class of 2025 will receive a medallion recognizing their selection to the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. Now, this medallion conveys the prestige and honor of their selection and recognizes excellence in athletic achievement. I would like now for the family members to place the medallions around the neck of the inductees and their representatives. Now, I would like to ask the nearly 30 members of the Hall of Fame who have come home to celebrate tonight to please stand as I read the charge for the class of 2025. Members, please stand and remain standing through the charge. The members of the Board of Directors have deemed you worthy of induction into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. You join 411 previously inducted members. Through your participation in sports, athletic competition, you have brought fame and honor to yourself and to this great state. You have gained the respect and admiration of all North Carolinians, and you give them a source of pride. You become part of this state's outstanding sports heritage. To ensure the memory of your accomplishments endures forever, I, on behalf of the Board of Directors, declare that you are now officially inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations. You may take your seats. Now it's time to hear from the class of 2025, and each member of their representatives has a message to share with each of you. Now, to lead this program, we're delighted to welcome back a North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame class of 2021 member to lead the conversation. Our host is a former student athlete at North Carolina State, a marketing executive, and a Hall of Fame basketball broadcaster. She is in her 37th year of covering college hoops, two-time Emmy Award winner, and analyst for both men and women basketball for ESPN, CBS, and the NCAA tournament. She also played in 4 NCAA tourneys and a 3-year starter for the North Carolina State Wolfpack. So, please join me in welcoming Debbie Antonelli. Debbie, thank you.
A consensus first-team All-America at the University of North Carolina, this Wendell native is the all-time sack leader for the Tar Heels. He was selected in the first round of the NFL Draft, playing 11 seasons for the Dallas Cowboys and 1 for the Oakland Raiders, making a total of 84 sacks. In 2007, as a Pro Bowler, he was named the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year following an Achilles injury, which ended his previous season prematurely. He is one of only 4 Tar Heels to earn first-team All-ACC honors 3 times and was the 1993 North Carolina High School Athletic Association Male Athlete of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Ellis.
Hey, Greg. Good to see you, man.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's been good so far, right?
Been great so far. Amazing.
Yeah. How did you maintain that high-level motor and motivation that you showed on the defensive end of the football?
Well, if you want to keep your job, you kind of that's the starting point. But the desire to be the best, that's something that drove me my entire career. I would tell people that it's okay if I'm not the best, but I always wanted to be amongst the best, and that kept me going for most of my career.
Your experience at North Carolina playing football led to your first-round draft pick to play in the NFL. What were your NFL days like or your Carolina days? Like, how did it prepare you?
Wow. So I had some amazing coaches at Carolina, and I appreciate them. They're actually here. They surprised me by coming here. I didn't know they were going to be here. Even my junior varsity basketball coach, Coach Phil Ford, is here as well. So I appreciate.
Did you say Hall of Famer Phil Ford?
Hall
was
of
your
Famer
junior
Phil
high
Ford.
coach?
He was my junior varsity basketball coach at Carolina. Yeah, exactly. And so those guys, taught me. They grew me from a boy to a man, and that's what college is really all about. Transforming from the childhood to a man. And I was blessed and fortunate to have some amazing coaches to help me transition to that and to understand the importance of what it took to be a professional athlete. And so, yes, a lot of it started and came from my college coaches.
Sounds like you had some really good influences and role models.
Yeah, amazing ones.
When you're dropping Phil Ford up here, you definitely have a good one. Your adversity that you faced with your Achilles injury and that allowed you to come back and be comeback player of the year in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I read 12 and a half sacks in 13 games. I mean, tell us about that. What was that adversity like, and where did the resolve come from to be able to come back better?
And I'm gonna go a little off script because I'm a Christian guy, and I think God orchestrates things for a reason. And as we're talking about the Achilles heel injury, it's very funny and painful because over the last 2 days, my Achilles has started hurting. And so I think it's, a lot to be learned from that, if you would. The hardship that it takes to be a successful athlete. The people ask me, what was it like? And I've talked to some people even here, and they say, how does your body feel? And I think this current Achilles situation I'm dealing with right now, some of the pain I'm having, caused me to reflect on, the hardship that it takes to be a successful athlete, right? So all the athletes here, the price that you and we had to pay to be an accomplished athlete, it's a lot. It was a lot, but it was worth it, I think, in my opinion. The pain that I'm currently having right now in my Achilles, it was still worth it. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again.
What did you learn from that experience? You said you learned a lot.
I learned a lot. Story behind that. So that happened probably my 7th or 8th year in the NFL, and we were playing Arizona. 7 to 8 years in the NFL. When you get 30, you're old, and they look to replace you. And so I remember they carted me off the field, and I'm sitting in the training room in Arizona. And the Dr. Dan Cooper came in, team doctor, and I'm laying on the table. He put his hands on my leg. He said, first words come out of his mouth. He said, Greg, you had a great career. Oh. Right? It's okay, happy ending, it's okay. And I didn't get mad with him because I quickly understood what he meant, Well, for one thing I didn't understand, I was like, well, wait a minute, can we fix it? And he said, no, it's no problem to fix. But at your age, you're 30 years old, you play a big man position, and so you're probably not likely to return to the level that would allow you to continue a football career. And so that, was scary for me. But trusting God and being resilient, even when you don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. And we as athletes, sometimes we have to create that light when you don't see it. We have to bust through that darkness. And it's not a comfortable place to be in, but sometimes in our life, and even outside of athletics, sometimes in your life, you have to be the hammer to bust through to create that light. And so I learned that through this Achilles.
Well, you have been a remarkable role model. Congratulations on being in the Hall. Is there someone or a group of people you'd like to thank tonight?
Oh, wow. I thank the coaches who are here who took the time to come and celebrate this with me. I'm an emotional sweater, and I deal with anxiety. But when I saw Coach Moody, he was the first coach I saw that came in. He was my recruiting coach, and it just took me by surprise, and I was like, I'm glad I got the sweat towel. And so many, I didn't expect Coach Ford to be here. So many, Donnie Thompson, Didn't expect him to be Coach Ken Browning, Ken Mack. So those are my Carolina coaches. I didn't expect them to be here. Mr. Swafford, he's out here. Just so many people, and I thank y'all for coming out for this milestone moment here in my life. But I'd be remorse. I obviously have to thank my parents, mom and dad. My mom and dad, they work hard. They were custodian workers. And I would say this to all the parents, grandparents out here, young parents especially. It doesn't take money to show the love to your kid. You may not have a lot of money. And now I feel the emotions about to kick in, but I'm going to push through this one story because I have to, because it was a learning moment from my father. Again, he was a custodian worker, not a lot of education, but one of the biggest things my father instilled in me, and my mom will tell you that too, was whatever you wanted to do, you keep God first, and you're willing to outwork people, it could happen for you. And that propelled me every inch, every second of my football career. And everything that I've been blessed to do and blessed to accomplish, that one thing propelled me to what some may say greatness or whatever you want to call it. But that propelled me through my life and still propels me to this day was the fact that my dad said, hey, Greg, whatever you want to do, if you want to build this building, it can happen. Maybe a lot of hard work, but it can happen. And my mom told me, I was probably retired from playing football, and my mom told me, she said, Greg, you know what? When you was a kid, you believed everything that myself and your dad told you. And that was a good thing. It was a blessing, to be honest with you, because, again, the biggest thing that I believe was what my dad said. Whatever you want to do, it can happen for you. Keep God first and be willing to outwork people.
Greg, congratulations. Greatness in your foundation, in your skill set,
Thank you.
and in your character.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Ellis.
Yep. Let me thank one more person.
Please.
One more person. And I'm going to ask him to stand up. Coach Earl Rose. Just stand up and wave, Coach. Stand up and wave, Coach. Thank you. Coach Rose has meant so much to me in the short time that I've known him. He actually submitted the information for me to go into the Hall of Fame. And so I just wanted to make sure that I did that. He's one of the outstanding guys that want to make sure sometimes the unsung heroes get their flowers while they're still here. So thank you, Coach Rose.
Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Ellis.
Our next inductee was a coach for 13 years and a trailblazing administrator for 47. A native of Henderson and a Western Carolina alum, she worked at Wake Forest, Peace College, NC State, and the ACC, where she was the league's first female associate commissioner. An incredible number of awards and accolades reflect her impact on college athletics and how she championed opportunities for women in sports. She received the Order of the Longleaf Pine in 1987, as well as the 2007 Billie Jean King Lifetime Achievement Award given by the Women's Sports Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, Nora Lynn Finch.
Remember your roots.
Full transparency here. This could get ugly.
Not for long.
Coach Finch, who I affectionately refer to as, I never say Nora Lynn Finch. all right, so you lived your entire career in being in North Carolina, nearly 50 years of your professional career in the Tar Heel State. So I'm guessing that's not really how you reference it, though.
Go Pack! But I will say, in all honesty, in true transparency, my time at the ACC has really neutralized some emotions, and I have great, I mean sincere respect for every institution of the ACC. And those in North Carolina, Virginia, and South Carolina are closest to me. I love them all. Love them all.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess you want to go ahead and tell everybody who your favorite player is right now, right?
You're sitting really close.
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of them over there. Yeah, they're
love
all
the
waving.
Pack. And I love the Deacons. Now, my Demon Deacons over there are making a good sound, too.
Okay, Coach Finch, so look, you're a product of Title IX.
Yes.
You helped fight for equality your entire life. If you were going to look at making a change, an adaptation, or put it in your own words in some way, what would you add to Title IX that you think might be missing?
Well, Debbie, Title IX is like 50 years old. It passed in 72, became law in 78. It still hasn't been enacted in a lot of institutions. Fully compliant, it still has not. So at the time that it was written, people couldn't have foreseen what we're dealing with today with gender. And the law says that we should not discriminate by gender, but we're lost right now in some of that. There are a lot of things socially that were not defined, even institutions receiving financial assistance from the federal government. Some of that has gone through interpretation. So the Supreme Court's been very busy. Where you and I sit, no real enforcement was defined with the law. And as a result, with the Office of Civil Rights being given that responsibility, those offices differed greatly in geographical location on how they enforced and interpreted. So we haven't had consistency. Now it's under, Trump has moved it under education. And for women in sport, that probably is our best chance of enforcement.
So I know you as a fighter, somebody who's willing to take on a challenge, doesn't see any adversity, only sees opportunity. And based on what you just said about Title IX, where did that come from? Who helped influence you to get that power, to feel that strong, and to make you motivated to help young women?
I'm a very proud catamount. I will tell everyone in here that when I went to Western Carolina, 1966, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I learned a lot about how to learn what I needed to know. If there is an institution where servant leadership is displayed by the faculty, by the administration, it is Western Carolina. And if there is an institution that it helps you understand how to become a servant leader, it is Western Carolina. So I will tell you, I love to serve. I love to help. I love to teach. I'm an encourager. I'm enthusiastic. And I really credit my alma mater for a great deal of that.
Are there any particular people that have come across your path that have influenced the way you operate?
Okay, yeah. Oh, just imagine how fortunate I was at my best friend, Kay Yao. We started together. The year that she started coaching at Elon, I was coaching at Wake Forest. You'll love this. the North Carolina AIW required us to have punch and cookies after the games. Kay and I watched the players have punch and cookies while we exchanged inbounds and under the basket plays. We kind of saw things a little differently. Kay, very gentle spirit, but if you underestimated her feistiness and her drive to do it well, you did not know her, because she was driven for excellence. And we learned it together. There was no blueprint. We had no role models. Everything was men's athletics, and we were in the AIW at the time, not the NCAA, and the women in the AIW would say that, ooh, everything men's athletics is bad. Those scholarship things, oh, they're terrible. If only those women could see sport now. Holy cow. I was greatly influenced by Kay, and she was influenced by me. And together, her ideas and my practicality for implementation was a good record. And I would say that those ladies and gentlemen from that NC State contingency over there would agree with me that if you knew Kay Yow, you were better. And what a privilege. And I truly was influenced by Kay.
You learned together, you shared, and there are countless numbers of student athletes across all those institutions that have benefited, including many of us in the room here tonight. So you also served as the first chair and the second, the only two-term, D1 women's basketball committee chair. So you did 2 terms of that. And the game is much different today. I reference our game as Clarkonomics. Do I need to clarify what Clarkonomics is in this room? Right? It's a reference to Caitlin Clark and her being the greatest disruption in the ecosystem in our game. Right? Our product is good. Players have always been good. We just needed something to change the lens with which people consumed our game. How do you see it?
I see it as 50 years of investment to get us to the media giving us our fair share of publicity, respect, because even though we had some games televised and people wrote about us, it wasn't always fair. Debbie and Beth Mowens are the best in the business when it comes to women's basketball, or if they had it, men's basketball and softball, anything you wanted to do, because you do your homework and you're fair. And we were, if you can just imagine, women's athletics, we were not welcomed by the media. Title IX was seen by many people as taking from the boys to give to the girls, taking from the men to give to the women. And I guess when you think the pie's only so big, we have to share it. How you distribute your resources, how you invest them, depends on a lot of circumstances. And when the law says, yay, those sisters of yours, brothers, are going to have some opportunity too. Well, there were a lot of guys who didn't want that, and there were very few women in the media, so the media did not welcome us. Then I would say that we had some great players in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s that y'all never saw play. You never heard about them. But the investment of people's efforts, more and more daddies having daughters who wanted to play, streaming has really helped with television. More television stations, more sports opportunities, more advertising means more opportunities for women too. And it's been a consistent message from those of us that want that opportunity and want to take advantage of it, that we finally have broken through some ceilings. And what I thought you were going to really ask if I taught Caitlin how to shoot. That
I
wasn't
did.
your question.
I did. I taught her how to.
But once we had several of the stars aligned. We had invested enough. Along came the Steph Curry of women's basketball, and the media was primed, television was ready, and she can play. And you have had much fun. And now she's at Indiana, and you do the Indiana games. You're going to see her every week.
25 times at least this summer. I mean, that's not a bad gig, I gotta say.
You're going to challenge her in free throws, aren't you?
She doesn't want any of me.
Just so y'all know, next weekend,
Don't send that to her, please.
next weekend, Debbie is going to have her weekend of shoot-a-thon, and she's going to shoot how many free throws over 24 hours without a break? You're going to shoot how many? 100 every hour?
Yes, I make 100 on the top of every hour for 24 hours for Special Olympics.
Well done.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
You're not supposed to interview me. I'm interviewing you.
Some things don't change. You know I love her, right? Yeah, just want to make sure y'all know I love her.
I'm looking over at a certain group of people over there. They're really jealous that you just said that. But you have enough love to go around, Coach Finch.
I do.
Who would you like to thank tonight for helping you get to this point in the
Okay.
North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame?
KYAL, no doubt. Western Carolina, no doubt. Wake Forest. Y'all, they're 5 of my first-year team over there. They look so young. And I had a great time at Peace. The president just wanted to beat Meredith. I mean, it was a great time. NC State, wow. John Swafford. Thank you, John. John, you gave me the opportunity on a national level to impact the game I love. And you had the resources to allow me to do it. Thank you. I love Greensboro. You were so good to me. The best tournament in the world was held here for 11 years. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nora Lynn Finch.
Our next inductee has served as NC State's men's cross-country coach since 1982 and coached the women's team from 1981 to 2004. In addition, he was the head coach of the men's track team from 1984 to 2023 while coaching the women from 1984 to 2018. He currently serves as the Senior Associate Director of Track and Field and Cross Country, as well as the head coach of the men's cross country team. His teams have won 40 ACC titles, and he's coached 24 NCAA individual, relay, and team champions, as well as 250 individual ACC champs and 400 All-ACC performers. He has been named the ACC Coach of the Year 34 times. Ladies and gentlemen, Rollie Geiger.
Raleigh, those numbers are absolutely staggering. So I did a little math. You know, we're a math school at NC State. So here's what I came up with. Since 1982, you've got 43 years at NC State. You won Coach of the Year 34 times. That's 79% of the time that you have been at NC State, you've been the Coach of the Year in the league. How? How do you do it?
You recruit the right players. I mean, that's where it all starts. You have good players, you get an opportunity. You got to have someone who believes in the program, believes in the process, and believes in each other. And those are called teammates. And I've been very fortunate we've had that over the years.
Talent's one thing, and you certainly had a lot of that, but building those relationships around those student athletes, how did you maintain that level of excellence for so long?
Well, the best part of my day is practice. I mean, coaches in here, practice. I love practice. I love working with 18 to 22-year-olds. When I was a high school coach, I really enjoyed that. I think gaining the trust of your athletes is incredibly important. They'll believe in your program. It's not what do they say? It's they don't care about how much you know until how much you care, and I believe that to be true.
How have you been able to stay hungry all these years? Like winning at the level that you've won is just, the numbers are staggering.
Well, the opposite of winning is not. And that's a tough one. So, in the end of the day, though, it's not about winning, it's about opportunity. You put your athletes in a position where they have an opportunity to be successful. I can't remember a competition where we talked about winning. We talked about the opportunity we have the next day. So I think when you present it in that realm, you got a chance.
Building, watching what you've done at NC State from 1982 to where you are now. And I know you already told me you got practice tomorrow, so I know he said keep it short. He's got practice tomorrow. How about NC State's influence over your sport, just in general, and how you've been able to lead in that space?
Well, you got to have support of your university. I've been fortunate. Tom Jones took a chance on a high school coach out of Bradenton, Florida. I've been there for 45 years, and the support I've had from the administration is incredible. But it's just not the administration. It's the support groups, whether it be sports medicine, academic support, whatever it is. I mean, you have to have a lot of folks on the same page. And I've been fortunate at NC State. And the administration, I was thinking about this the other day. The AD, in fact, Michelle's here. I love it. One of our administrators is here. Thanks, Michelle, for being here. But Boo Corrigan, being an AD is a hard job right now. So I wrote him a note, and I'm not a note writer, but I wanted to thank him for his leadership. And in the note I wrote, you don't have a choice. It's in your DNA. And the reason I say that tonight was his father was the commissioner of the ACC for years, and what a great man. So that's why I bring that up.
I've known you since you've been on campus my freshman year. You're one of the first coaches I met that wasn't in basketball, because we were running on the track a lot back then. And, you're trying to get a tip here and there how to shave off a few seconds off that mile time, right? So when I think about you and your career at NC State, because I've known you over the span of it, I know what a great leader you are and what a quiet man you are, but where did your influences come from to maintain your ability to keep learning so that you could keep making your athletes better?
Well, I think there's a key there, that you got to keep learning. You can't stop learning. And I think there's two sides of athletics. There's the competition side and there's the mental side. So again, I've surrounded myself with the coaches in a part of the NC State program in cross country and track and field. They've been incredible. So I've been very fortunate to be surrounded. They say surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are, and that's not hard for me. So I've had a good group.
When you've won as much as you've won, and you do it in the way and the manner that you do it, you make it look easy. It can't be easy, but it looks easy.
As she looked at my face, does this look like a face of easy? There's joy. I mean, it's pure joy in what I do for a living. And the coaches in the room, oh my gosh. And the influence the coaches have on their athletes, and particularly the high school coaches in this room that are working with that age group, my gosh. Your influence. My high school coach, Bob Stabile, and Jim Rose, I mean, they made a difference in my life, I can promise you. And that was a few years ago.
Rollie, when you think about this moment in time for you being inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, who would you like to thank?
Mom, Dad. I was born in L.A., and that's not Laura Arden for those of you from North Carolina. That's the other L.A. But my mom and dad were blue collar. I grew up in Cleveland, and so I really learned a lot from working hard. I went to Kent State. I was fortunate to be part of the Kent State program. Gave me a chance to get an education and to compete. And really, I've surrounded myself. I've got incredible coaches in the program. And so I've been very fortunate in that regard. And I hope this is going to continue for a while.
From the class of 2025, congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, Raleigh Geiger.
Thank you.
As North Carolina's all-time winningest high school football coach, our next inductee has 426 victories overall, with 366 of those coming at Murphy High School. He has won more games than any high school football coach at a single school in North Carolina. Combine that with winning 9 state championships at Murphy, and you understand why he is a member of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame. A 4-sport standout at Edenville High School, he played college football at Elon, where he later joined Hall of Fame member Red Wilson's staff as an undergraduate assistant. Ladies and gentlemen, David Gentry.
Coach Gentry, and they say this is a basketball state.
Yeah, but you don't live in Western North Carolina mountains.
Tell us about it.
Well, mountain football is a good tradition. It's especially back in Class A, Class 2A. We got a big tradition. We've kind of dominated the single A in football, and that's where I'm from, and that's where I've been coaching. Those kids, the mountain kids, are tough. They are raised right. They're raised right. Got good parents. Got good work ethic, and that was the place I was born, and that's the place that I love to coach.
We learn about all your success and everything that you've done to win is why you're here. Take us back to your first season at Murphy when you won 4 games and how you were able to build it from there to where you are now as the all-time winningest coach.
Well, I think if you talk to my wife, she could figure that out. At first, I won 4 games the first year, 5 games the next year. I met my wife the next year, won 8. Then I won 15, then won 14. And so she takes a lot of credit for that, but we did have some good players and great coaches. It was a good town, and good town for me, and like I say, good kids, good coaches.
When you have good kids, good character, hardworking, it seems like it's easy to sustain that level of success, but it's not always that because you still got to build a team. How'd you do it?
Well, you know, everybody talks about winning, and what we try to do when I was coaching is you got to do the things in order to win. You know, everybody wants to win, but if you got to tell my kids, you got to do everything. You got to do what it takes to win. So you got to improve every day. Every day you come off that hill, or every day you go to practice, you need to improve. And then you need to do your best. And the team is first. And if you always told my kids, if you do your best, then everything's going to be all right. I don't care whether you win or lose. If your kids are doing their best, and I used to tell them, do the mirror drill a lot on Saturday morning. After Friday night's game, you get up and look in the mirror. Say, how do you like yourself? How do you think you did last night? Do you think you played hard? Are you proud of yourself? If you can say yes, then you'll be all right.
What happens when they weren't giving their best?
Well, we had a little thing called the hill. It wasn't very little, but it was kind of big.
A hill in
A
Murphy?
hill, yes, that's
Okay.
a mountain. Imagine you have one of those things. But I would put them on the hill. I put one team, we played private school out of Charlotte. We played a lot of big school. We were a single A school, played a lot of big school. We played Charlotte Latin, which was a private school state champion the year before, and we played them. I put them on the schedule. That's a real good athletic director, and I was the athletic director too. And we were playing them, and they had a good team. And I thought we had a pretty good team. I was like 28-21 in the third quarter, and I turned around at the end of the ball game, about midway through the fourth quarter, it was like 48-21. I said, that wasn't good. We played with them for 3 quarters. Why couldn't we play with them for the whole game? So I told them on Monday, I said, now men, I said, when you go down the hill, and you go go onto the practice field, I said, just stop down at the bottom of the hill. Don't go any further. But we started running the hill before practice every day. And we ran the hill every day before practice. And those kids were good kids. And they got to learn to like that. And when they learned to like it, we got a lot better. So the hill was kind of our training ground a lot of times. A lot of coaches do up and downs, and we did a lot of those too. But the hill was our salvation.
I can see a T-shirt right now called The Hill that you're probably wearing around. What about the influences on your coaching style from Shirley Red Wilson, your college coach at Elon, to all the many people that have come across your path, that have sought out advice from you? What have you learned? What have you shared?
Well, you got to learn. I had great high school coaches, and I got one here tonight that coached me. And I'm 78, almost 79. Bill Whitmire, he was my high school coach, and he's here. He's about 79 now. Your coaches is going to be, your high school coaches is going to be your influence on you. And my college coaches, I had great college coaches, and then I coached with Red. He influenced me a whole lot, set me up. I was his undergraduate assistant and scout team, and coached with his staff. And he had a great staff, Jerry Tolley and Mickey Brown, and those people were great at Elon. Elon gave me a good basis. They offered me a scholarship and gave me an opportunity to play, and then they gave me an opportunity to coach. And so that's where I learned the love for coaching. And I think I was like the other coaches up here. You never stop learning. I went to coaches clinic 3 or 4 every year. Read a lot of books. On the wing tee, we ran the wing tee. We tried to keep it simple. 3 plays to the right, 3 plays to the left. And that's enough. If people that know football, you got trap, buck sweep, and cross. What else you need? They got to defend those 3 plays. And I'll tell you a little story. I'm real simple. I'm real simple. I ran the first play. I used to run the first play until Joseph Watson became my offensive coordinator. He said, "No, Coach, we don't need to do that every time." I was running the first play. I run for buck sweep first play every game. About the 4th ball game, the running back was running the buck sweep. He said, "Hey, Coach," he said, "we run buck sweep every first play, every play." He said, "Don't you know that those people scouting us know that we're going to run buck sweep?" I said, "Yeah, I know they're going to run buck sweep." But I said, "Hey, listen, if they know it and we run it and we gain more than 5 yards, they've had it." So that was my philosophy. We had to out-execute people. We didn't have all the athletes. Well, we had great athletes, but sometimes we were not the best athletic, but we were the best technique people on the field. And if our kids gave it the best, then heck, that was good enough for me.
Coach, who would you like to thank in your moment here?
Well, I like to thank a lot of people. My mom and dad, my wife, my family's over here. I had, of course, Bill Whitmire, Red Wilson. My Shrine Bowl people's here. Owens and Cable. Sam Story's my agent. He was my teammate. I call him my agent. He's helped me. He nominated for me for the hall here, and he's nominated me for a lot of other things. And so I'd like to thank all my coaches, assistant coaches. What's made me successful is that my coaches stayed a long time with me. So I didn't have to teach a lot of things of what we're doing. So we did the same thing.
Well, it's only a buck sweep, so.
I know, it's not. And they learned that. But my coaches stayed with me a long time too. I mean, I was 38 years in Murphy, and basically had 2 staffs in 38 years. In Indyville, I was there 9 years. Basically, had 1 staff. So that was a key to mine, and I thank those people. And of course, I thank my players, and they're all a part of this. Everybody. You're never an individual, and football is the greatest team sport ever, I think. So it takes a lot of people to be a team sport, and my assistant and all my coaches and players that played for me is part of this. And I really appreciate them and thank them.
Coach, so glad the Hall could recognize your accomplishments.
Thank you
Ladies
very
and
much.
gentlemen, David Gentry.
A native of Level Cross, our next inductee revolutionized NASCAR's crew chief position, being largely credited for developing the driver pit communication system. He was part of 8 NASCAR Cup Series championships, 7 of those as the crew chief for Richard Petty, and 193 wins, including 7 Daytona 500 victories. In 1967, he and Petty won a NASCAR record 27 races, including 10 in a row. A member of the NASCAR Hall of Fame and the International Motorsports Hall of Fame, he has also been instrumental in the development of the Victory Junction Game Camp. Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Inman.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. Congratulations.
My pleasure.
Wow. I hear a lot of cool things about you, Dale.
I hope some of them are true.
How do you revolutionize the NASCAR crew chief position? What does that mean to some of us laymen out here that don't know about NASCAR the way you do?
Well, I got involved with Lee Petty become a race car driver when he was 35-year-old. And his 2 sons, Maurice and Richard, had to work on his car before we could play and do the things that young kids did back then. There was no television, no telephones. We had bicycles, and got started working on the race car. Went to a lot of races with the Petty family, and then Richard, they didn't let him run until he was 21-year-old, and I got caught going with him to the first race and all that, and it just took off, and mainly volunteer, and then got drafted in the Army. I'm real proud of that. Spent 2 years, even though it was peacetime. And during that time, I got married. Been married 65 years to my wife, Mary, here. And, while Lee was driving, Richard was kind of the leader, and then when he started driving, it kind of left somebody to lead everybody, and that's kind of the way, I guess, the crew chief position started. And Maurice drove a little bit, and it just materialized, and it got bigger. The factories got into racing, and television got into racing. And it got to be bigger money, and but we done it a lot with just volunteer help. Even up through the years, and I thank all the people that helped me with that and everything. And then, and today's world of racing is nothing like it used to be. I mean, I still go to the races and I see these race cars run a quarter of an inch off the ground. We had to keep ours about 6 inches off the ground to make it work. And I don't think, if you want to call it a sport or a business, ever what it was, auto racing, I don't think nothing has changed, nothing close to any sport has changed like auto racing has.
A quarter of an inch or 6?
We had to make them travel to make them handle. Now they're so aerodynamics with the underneath of the car. They look nothing like a stock car, like we started racing, you know. But it's technology. They set the car up with a computer and everything. I still got a flip phone. And I have struggled with it sometimes, but I still enjoy going to the races and meeting the people. And I think some of the things that come along, I've been around a long time. I don't want to tell my age, but I've been around a long time.
Go ahead and tell it.
I'll be 89 in August.
Yes.
And like I said, been married 65 years. My wife Mary's sitting there. But I think some of the things that I cherish more than anything is the places we've been able to go. We've met presidents, been invited to the White House, had Kentucky Fried Chicken with Ronald Reagan, 4th of July in '84, and been to Australia and his summers down there, you know, and just some of the things, seen most of the states, the United States, and all of it on account of the racing career that I had, I guess.
Your relationship with Richard Petty. One of you had to be Dean Smith and the other was Phil Ford. Which one was it?
Say again.
Dean Smith or Phil Ford?
I don't know, but until the story, Richard's won 200 races. He's told me to win 400 hadn't have been for me, so I don't know how Phil Ford and all of them go along. And, you know, of course, I can't prove him wrong, you know, but he's always been right. But, you know, I guess we growed up, we was both born about 15 miles from here and about 3/4 of a mile apart. And we've known each other for 87 years. And I guess it's still going strong. He's here tonight. He's got to catch a plane in the morning to catch up with Kyle's charity ride in Michigan. So, but I appreciate him being here and everything.
It takes a team. It's a team effort.
It's always been a team effort. All of it is, and you know. But I guess in racing, I don't know how good you got to be on a given day. You just got to beat everybody else, and I think that still holds true today. Even though I say, you know, the sport has changed so much, and I still go quite a bit, and I tape the race, and I can see more when I come back and watch it on television. But I still enjoy meeting the people and the ones that get to the racetrack. And, of course, the Wood Brother family's here, and the Lord have mercy. The competition they gave us, and I think still friends with them today, you know, and all that. It's just such an honor. Of course, Terry's here with us, won a championship with him in '84, and then he got smart and won another 12 years later, you know. And I guess he tells that the only argument me and him ever had was I was a Redskin fan, and of course he was a Dallas Cowboy fan, so, and still is, you know. So Terry, thank you for being here.
You've been recognized by other halls. What does this one mean to you?
Well, it's very special. All of them are special, you know, but of course, going into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2012, it opened in 10. Richard went in the first year, his dad the second year, I went in the third year as the first crew chief. But since then, there's a lot of crew chiefs that's gone in, and drivers and all that. But you know, I guess as the young kids come up today, they can plan a career in racing and everything, and mechanics, they can plan their career around, you know, the computers and everything, setting up cars and everything, and changing the air pressure half a pound to make it drive different at 200 mile an hour. And we didn't even have a gauge that would repeat probably 50 pound, I don't know, you know. So I keep complaining about how much it's changed, but they still go the same way and in the same direction, but it's just so much different.
Who would you like to thank tonight?
Ma'am?
Who would you like to thank?
Oh,
tonight?
my wife's here tonight with me after 65 years. My daughter and my son-in-law, my grandson and granddaughter. You know, it's just special having them. Of course, the Wood brothers are here. And somewhere out here, I guess there's some other people that came on my account, and I appreciate it if I don't get to see you. Okay.
Congratulations, Dale, on your induction into the class of 2025.
It's such an honor to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Inman.
Our next inductee was named one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers and was inducted into the Circuit's Hall of Fame in 2016. He dominated NASCAR in 1969 and 70, winning 28 races and earning 61 top 5 finishes. In 1969, he captured 19 poles, which still stands as the record in a single season, and was NASCAR's Grand National Series champion in 1970. For his career, he had 37 wins, 48 poles, and 160 top 10 finishes in 308 Cup Series starts. Bobby Isaac died in 1977 at the age of 45. He is represented tonight by Patsy Isaac.
Patsy, somebody told me that he's the original Bobby that said, if you ain't first, you're last.
That's true.
Is that true? Does that be true? I think that line from the movie came from him.
It could have been.
What do you remember about that era of all the winning that you all experienced together?
Bobby was such a competitor. He decided that racing was his thing. He had no money. He had to find people who would build a car for him and that sort of thing. He was so focused on that, and that was his one thing. The one thing that he wanted to do was to race. And he hated to lose. He didn't like going second. If he didn't win, he lost. So, and I think that gave him a determination to win more so than maybe some other people who were racing at the time.
Where do you think his competitiveness came from?
Well, part of it is just in that male DNA who likes to win. He raced with a great group of people, really good drivers, and they were friends, but not on the racetrack. And so they always wanted to win. One of his best friends was Davy Pearson, and Bobby so wanted to become the national champion, and he had a sponsor that wanted to win the title as well as he did. And so in 1969, he and David Pearson were just neck and neck throughout the whole year. Well, David won that year. And while he was happy for David, he was not real happy for himself. So the next year, he was even more determined that he was going to win the title. And it was so different back then than it is today. They raced so many more races, big tracks, little tracks, all over the place. But now the competition is just so fierce, and they don't have to go to as many racetracks, but it's even harder with all the travel because they can go to California now.
Dale was just up here. He was a crew chief. I'm guessing you had something to do with being a crew chief as well. You were the crew.
I crew chiefed at home.
What did that require, managing Bobby's schedule in your own?
Yes, yes. I kept up with all the business kind of stuff. I was a teacher. Then when the twins were born, that pretty well put a stop to most anything else. So I didn't go to many of the races at that point. But I took care of everything at home so that he could race.
How about your own driving skills?
Well, I laughed and told someone the story this week. When Bobby was driving the wing car, the Dodge wing car, they only made 50 of those that year so that it could be a competitive race car. And so Bobby was able to drive one of the wing cars as his personal car. And so one day I was loading the twins up into the station wagon, and you know how all that is, and backed up into the wing car. So that's my driving skills. I said, he's going to kill me. He came home. I said, I backed into the car. He said, we'll fix it.
Oh, that was it. That was easy.
Yes.
What do you think Bobby would say today? 45 years when he passed very young, and he's been gone for 48. And the Hall is recognizing his incredible career now. What are the emotions for you and your family?
We were just surprised, I guess is the word I want to use, that he was remembered. Because that's been a long time ago. And I just think it's a wonderful honor that they can still remember that he was a great race driver. And he died way too soon. And who knows what he could have accomplished if he had not passed so early.
Patsy, I know you were a great crew chief. Congratulations representing Bobby, and we wish you well. Patsy Isaac.
After nearly drowning as a 5-year-old at a water park, our next inductee later became an Olympic champion swimmer. He is a 4-time Olympic medalist competing at Beijing in 2008 and London in 2012. His first medal was gold at Beijing and came in world record time in the 4x100 meter freestyle relay. He followed that up with 3 medals in London, 2 silvers and another gold. A standout at NC State, he was a 2006 NCAA champion in the 50 free and 5-time ACC champion. He is the first African-American swimmer to hold a world record and a second to win an ACC title. Ladies and gentlemen, Cullen Jones.
Thank you.
Cullen, How does this feel around the neck based on what a gold medal feels like? I'm just curious.
I'm going to say that it feels nice to have the red and white up here with two NC State folks speaking. That feels good. It feels good to have the same as you.
What a gentleman. Brought me some water.
I'm a fish out of water, so I felt like you needed water.
Thank you. Hey, you look pretty good back then. You're not too far removed from that, I'm guessing.
I try, but my family, we like to eat, and I like to eat.
Drowning almost
Yeah.
to Olympic gold medal. How does that happen?
I always say I had persistent parents. We went to Dorney Park. My parents knew I loved water. I'm going to date myself. So my son is here, Avon. You don't know what He-Man and Thundercats are, but when you put me in the tub with them, I would cry if they pulled me out. And so I love the water. And so they took me to an amusement park. My dad, who kind of knew how to swim, my mom at the time didn't know how to swim. And they were like, he's tall enough. And if anyone sees my son, you will see, tall enough to ride the ride. But I had never had swim lessons. And so my dad went first. I went second. And my mom ended up going third. But as they were yelling at my dad to hand the inner tube to the next person, I came out of the ride, flipped upside down, didn't know what to do, was trying to pull. I was underwater for 30 seconds. And they say that a child can have brain damage for being underwater for more than 30 seconds. I was about 40. And so they had to resuscitate me. I woke up, and the first thing out of my mouth was, "What's the next ride we getting on?" Because I was 5 at a water park, didn't want to leave. But my mom said, "Never again, you're getting your butt in the swim lessons."
What an incredible story to share, because I know in this community in Greensboro, they care about swimming. Second graders here in this market, 60% of the second graders in Guilford County get swimming lessons. It's a very important initiative here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we have some people here, and I thank you so much for being here. Susan's somewhere around here, but there she is. When I was asked to come to that, I try my best to make sure that I come to watch these kids swim. And Greensboro is really the guiding light. I don't care where I go. I talk about this program because we need to get this everywhere to save lives.
When you're referenced as the first black swimmer to do this, to do that, what responsibility does that bring?
After 2008, I was lucky enough to meet some amazing, amazing people. That really changed my life and just the way that I thought about things. But it was actually a couple of the NBA guys that said, "Do you know what you just did for the sport of swimming?" And my agent at the time said the same thing. And the drowning rates were put in front of me. And at the time, 70% of black Americans didn't know how to swim. And it just hit me. And at the time, 60% of Latino Americans didn't know how to swim. 48% of Caucasians don't know how to swim. And I'm like, this is a US problem. This is my way of giving back. I nearly drowned. I was almost one of these statistics. And so I took being a role model very seriously and started working with USA Swimming to try to get people to learn to swim, and never look back. I'm still doing it.
And take me back a little bit, because you're an incredible athlete, and swimmers to me can do just about anything based on the discipline and the amount of time that's required, how hard you train.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick swimming when you could have done other things?
Yeah, so I started with gymnastics, and they saw my dad, who's 6'4", and they were like, "This is not for you." So I grew up in New Jersey and New York, and this was the height of hip hop and dancing, so I wanted to do backflips and stuff. So when I saw swimming for the first time, I was doing track, and I was still kind of playing around with basketball because my dad was a basketball player, but I just fell in love with it. It was my friends that were there, and the team was just so inclusive at the time, which was so rare for that area. But I had to take the bus, and I know this is unheard of. I was 10 years old taking the bus, public bus, to school, and then take that bus to swim practice because I just wanted to be there. And so, yes, our practice is hard, yes, but when you're doing that, I guess misery loves company. I was always with my friends, so I loved it.
What role did NC State play in your international success?
There's two places that molded me. For high school, it was St. Benedict's in Newark, and the second place was NC State. There are quite a few people that really had an impact. Brooks Steele was the coach at the time. He was a really big impact for me. Chad Onklin was a big impact. But there's one particular person who got here, who came here, and when you said discipline, I was not disciplined when I first got to NC State. And actually, in my first year, I ended up not having great grades and was not eligible to swim my sophomore year. I had to sit in front of this lady, and she looked at me, and she did the one thing that gets under my skin, disappointment. And that is Michelle Lee. She's here somewhere. Yes. She gave me the, there she is, she gave me the disappointment look, and it hit me. But the next year, I watched our team not win meets because of me. And I'm watching, you know, the coaches of other teams kind of like, ha, he's on the order. And I just had to eat that. I remember going into that next year, my grades came right back up, and I had to go to Michelle Lee's office, and she goes, "You gonna do that again?" I said, "No, ma'am." For the next couple of years, I excelled in school and excelled in the pool. It was really not because I was a knucklehead, it was just because it was so hard to maintain the training and school at the same time. And I remember going to Michelle's office because I felt like I needed to have her permission because I had just signed a deal with Nike to go pro. And I couldn't keep up with the English department and do that. So I went to her and I said, "Michelle, I can't." And she just looked at me and I was ready. I was like, and she's like, "I get it, but you're gonna make a promise right here. You're gonna finish your degree." She called my mom, yes, to make sure this happened. And I was like, "Okay, I promise, I promise." 2008, magical year. 2012, magical year. 2016, I missed the team. And there were a couple of people that came to me and were like, "You know, are you done swimming? Are you done swimming?" I was like, "No, I'm not done, I'm not done." And the late Chuck Wilgus, who was the CEO of USA Swimming, said, "I hear NC State's doing pretty well in the swim pool with Braden, and at the time, Todd DeSorbo was there as the sprint coach. He's like, maybe you should check it out." So here I come, calling Braden. I'm like, "Can I come swim?" He goes, yeah, be here. Okay, I hang up the phone. Not 5 minutes later, my phone rings again. And I look at it and I'm like, oh no. "Hello, Michelle. So, what was that promise you made me and your mom?" "Okay, let me finish school." So after 11 years, I went back to school to get my degree at NC State because of that lady right there. And because she knows my triggers and I never want to see that depressed face and disappointed face again, my GPA never went under a 3.8.
Wow, remarkable.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Take us to that 2008 world record.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps is on your team, Garrett Weber Gala,
Yep, Weber Gale.
and Jason Lezak.
Zak. Yep.
Yeah, I watched it over today. You still get chills even though you know what's going to happen.
It was one of the most surreal moments, and so
You had to earn your way on
I had to earn my way. So Peacock did an amazing job of actually, you know, covering the whole thing. So I'm going to summarize it. But because everybody at home needed to watch it on NBC, our prelims were at night and our finals were in the morning.
This is the 4x4.
4x100. 4x100.
4x100,
relay.
I'm sorry, yes.
And so to be on that relay, the coach was like, "I'm not playing politics. Whoever wins and has the fastest in prelims will make the final," because Garrett was first in the 100 free, Jason was second, and we have to save Michael Phelps for finals. Okay, fine. I make this joke in front of him, I do. So there's only one spot left, so I swam against some of the best, and we actually ended up setting the world record in prelims. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, yes, I made the relay. And so I'm looking at the coach, and I'm like, wait, I gotta figure out what the time is. So I go to the coach, and I'm 6'5", Matt Grievers is 6'10". It's like a building jumping over you, and he's flying. And I'm like, "Coach, what was the time?" And he said, I don't know if I can read this. Matt Grievous, 47.67, Cullen Jones, 47.66. So I made that relay by 1/100th of a second. And yeah. And so I'm like, I made the relay. Oh man, I made the relay. And you know, Michael's going for 8. The French team's talking smack that they're there to crush the Americans. And I'm the slowest one on the relay, sweet. And because everything was flipped, I go back to my dorm and I'm sitting up there like, you can't mess up, you can't mess up, you can't mess up. And there's a bang at the door at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's Phelps. And I open the door. I'm like, Mike, yep, you've got a lot of events. Why are you awake at 1 o'clock? He's like, Cullen, wake up. The NBA guys are downstairs. They want to wish us good luck. What? So I kick Lochte, who is forever my roommate, and he's snoring. I'm like, NBA guys are downstairs. Ah! We run downstairs. Kobe, LeBron, D. Wade, all of them are down there to wish us good luck. And I'm just shaking hands, and I'm just blown away that these are these stars that I've always looked up to, especially like Kobe. And I'm like, oh my God. And the one person, they all start looking at me. There's one person that breaks the silence, and it's LeBron. He goes, oh snap, there's a black dude on the swim team. Thank you, LeBron. It's one of the funniest moments of my entire career. But the next morning, like, it was like magic. Like, I mean, I got everything I needed prepared. We're sitting there, and we're ready to go. And, you know, on the left, we're about to get ready. We do our USA thing, hold each other's hands, and like, here we go, let's go. Mike's up there doing his arm thing, getting ready. And the door on the left opens, and George Bush walks in, the president at the time. And I can't make this up. He sits down, grabs the American flag. No facial expression at all, but it's cool, the president's here. And then on the right, Kobe, LeBron, they all came to watch us race. And the scene was set after that. It kind of gets kind of blurry. I kind of blacked out a bit, but we ended up hitting the wall and setting the world record.
Well, that's amazing. That's quite a story. Cullen, you work for Speedo. You're an ambassador for USA Swimming. What is all your responsibility?
I always say the gold medals were great, but my biggest gold medal is sitting right there. My son is my muse, he's my everything. And when he said to me, Daddy, I like swimming. And I started thinking about some of the things that I went through being the only person that looked like me swimming most of my career. I wanted him to know that this sport will love him. And so, thank you, Michelle. I'm overdoing it with the working now at this point because you set the bar and I just keep pushing. So I sit on the board for USA Swimming Foundation, a group called Diversity in Aquatics. I work at Speedo and head not only the sports marketing for North America, but also philanthropy. And it's all of it in an effort to help diversify the sport, but also to make sure everyone understands the sport is for them. And so my real mission is for him to not go through some of the things I went through.
Cullen, you have such an amazing story. I think this could be a much longer fireside chat one day. I'm really amazed at what you bring to the sport and how you've helped so many people. Who would you like to thank tonight for your path?
I mean, I would like to thank, I think he might have left. I usually got the best hat, but Mr. Petty's beaten me, so I'll take silver today. But no, seriously, I'd like to thank my mom, who's always been my rock. I lost my dad at 16. I'm sure there were moments where she didn't know how she was gonna make it through, but she never let me feel that. And it's her strength that continues to push me on so many times, because I don't know how we got through a lot of the things, but she just kept telling me, you go swim. I don't care, you go swim. My mother-in-law who's here, who's not really my mother-in-law, she's just my other mom, for allowing me to be so welcomed in the family. You mean the world to me. My wife, of course, we celebrate 8 years on Tuesday. Thanks for putting up with me and all the travel and work, and it's all to try to make it better for everyone that decides they want to touch the water. And of course, I got to thank my little guy who's sitting here probably playing Minecraft or something. But I'm just so blessed to have this family, and thank you for supporting me.
Congratulations, Cullen Jones.
A second-team USA Today All-America at Whiteville High School. Our next honoree returned 9 interceptions for touchdowns during his career and played 3 seasons at Clemson, where he was a first-team All-ACC selection in 1991. A 17th pick overall by the Oakland Raiders, he went on to play 12 seasons in the NFL with 4 different teams. With the Raiders, he appeared in 4 straight Pro Bowls and was a first-team All-Pro selection in 1995. He finished his NFL career with 555 tackles, 51 sacks, and 179 games. Chester McGlockton died in 2011 at the age of 42. Representing Chester tonight, Lee McGlockton.
This is Tiffany.
Hi.
Leon, credentials get you in the hall. Character has something to do with it as well. Tell us a little bit about Chester.
Chester's character, like I said earlier today, he's a man of faith, family, and friends. And anybody who knows Chester, that's who he was. Man of faith, family, and friends. And he was a big guy, but he was a big man of faith as well. And that thing I am so proud of is he is my younger brother, but he's my younger, bigger brother, which he's always called me his little big brother. And I've always called him my big little brother. And I am so proud of his faith. And I've always cherished that about him daily. And I think about him daily about that.
Tiffany, what did you enjoy about his career? You know, whether it was college or the NFL, what did your family enjoy the most about watching him?
Most of the time when I was at the games, I would be sitting beside my mother. And she was an athlete in her youthful days. And so a lot of times she would tell me, you know, Tiffany, slide over, I'm playing now. You know, she'd be playing right along every play. She's leaning left or right. And so I just learned to sit one seat over from her so I wouldn't get hit as much. But the best thing about watching him throughout all of it was just his humble spirit. He always felt that football was an addition to his life. God was first and family was next and then football. So I kind of treated it like he did, because for Chester, once he made it to the NFL, it was definitely a job for him. It was his job. So I learned to treat it like it was his job, but all along before that, I was the little sister that was always following behind these 2 guys. I tell people all the time, I never had a chance to grow up and be a princess because I had to learn to wrestle and run and all this fun stuff they had me doing. But the best thing was just seeing Chester give his teammates accolades and just build everybody up around him and just continue to do his job. That was the best thing, and he gave me a lot of encouragement in watching him do that, because I played basketball, but I didn't start until 9th grade. So these 2 guys were definitely encouraging me to stay active. So he was just very humble, and he was a team player. Even though a lot of times he might have, especially in high school, he was the star, because his senior year he was he was voted the most outstanding athlete in North Carolina. But he never forgot about his teammates, which some of them are here today with us. So he was just an all-around good guy. He never forgot about his community and the people around him. So I was just thrilled to be that sister watching, that little sister.
Leon, what would he say after one of his NFL games? You know, he played 12 years in the NFL. That's a long career in his position. You know, what would it be like for him when you talk to him after the game?
He would call me, and he would say, you know, I see him on TV if I wasn't at the game. He said, Lee, how did I do? I say, well, you did well, you know. And he said, well, how did I do? I say, you got double teamed every play, so you did your job. He said, I did. He said, and then anytime he'd always say, if I got just one person just to block me one time on a play, I could get a sack. But he got double teamed every time, and he would always call me. But we always talked the same thing. I said, Chet, you always play well because you gave it your all. And he said, Lee, I did. And he said, I just thank God that I am healthy and that the team, we all left the game healthy as well. He always thought about his teammates.
Tiffany, I'm thinking about your family around the table, right? You trying to struggle to get a biscuit, I'm guessing, because those two boys probably taking up everything at the table. What was it like growing up with him, you know, when he had such a gentle spirit about him and he's this giant man?
There's so many memories of us playing and just being siblings. So it was different. I really wanted to be a princess, but I just was not afforded that with these two guys because I learned the soufflex, I learned the figure four and all those wrestling moves and stuff. So it was just out of watching them do things, and I always just wanted to kind of join in. So I didn't care what they were playing and what they were doing. But Chester and I, just growing up, we all graduated 2 years apart. And so for his last 2 years of high school, it was just Chester and I at home with Mom. And we just were always close. They were always protective of me. So I just really enjoyed them being my big brothers. I mean, I didn't worry about people bothering me and things like that. Not that I was a troublemaker. It was just that, you know, even boyfriends, you know, guys would say, we'd like to talk to you, but, you know, you're brothers. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's your outlet, go ahead. But if you can't hang with my brothers, then you definitely can't hang with me. So it was cool, and it was just great growing up. I would not change it for anything in the world. They were my rocks. They definitely are.
Leon, what do you think Chester would say about being recognized in North Carolina by the Sports Hall of Fame?
He would be humbled because North Carolina was his home. He got inducted to the Greater Wilmington Sports Hall of Fame probably 2009. He got inducted to the Greater Wilmington Hall of Fame, and he and I were driving to Wilmington from Whiteville. He said, Lee, it just feels so good to be recognized in Wilmington, in North Carolina, because that's where we grew up. In our community, we played sports with all the community kids. We were raised by our community in Whiteville. You know, we couldn't have football practice in the summer at 12 o'clock in Whiteville because everybody worked at the tobacco field. So the coaches had to move the practice to 3 o'clock. Everybody would come in from the tobacco field, the pads would be on the field, everybody would get off the trucks where they work, and we put on football pads and start practice. But growing up, it was wonderful. I mean, we had a wonderful time, and it was amazing. It was a community effort in Whiteville. It really was.
A chance to thank the people in Chester's path that helped him and helped your family.
That's numerous, but I would like to thank his wife, Zena McLaughlin, and the two people who mean the most to him, Skylar and Sarah McLaughlin. Will you please stand to be recognized right now, please? Please stand and be recognized. These are the three most important people that my brother care about on this planet. And also I'd like to thank our dad. He's here, our father. He trained us in the summer. He's a Vietnam veteran, did 3 tours of Nam. He was a Special Forces captain in Green Beret. We spent our summers in Florida with our dad. We did swimming, fishing, hunting, racquetball, but he trained us as well to be men and have high character, and that's what he gave us, and our work ethic. He gave that to us every single day. And I also like to thank the Clemson University family that's here. If you're here, thank you so much. And a special thanks to Coach McCorvey that's here. Stand up, Coach. If you don't mind, stand up. He is responsible for Chester McLaughlin being at Clemson University. And all of his teammates, we like to thank you. And also, before I go, we like to thank my family that's here, my Aunt Clarice, you fed us every day, Auntie. Thank you. Thank you. You fed it. You gave Chet a whole 8-piece chicken. I remember. You cooked it, Auntie, and I just want to thank you, Auntie. Also, thank you in the back to Porter Hardy for being my brother's best friend his entire life. And after he left, you were there and always been there for our family. Thank you, Porter.
Congratulations to the McLaughlin family. Thank you both so much for representing Chester. Ladies and gentlemen, Chester McLaughlin's family.
The 1992 North Carolina High School Athletic Association Female Athlete of the Year, our next inductee attended Person High School in Roxborough, where she was named a High School All-America. At the University of Virginia, she holds records as the career rebound leader, first in double-doubles, second in field goal percentage, and fourth in scoring. Named the ACC Player of the Year in 1995 and 1996, she also earned first-team All-America honors during the same season. Following graduation, she played 11 years in the WNBA, was an All-Star in 2000, second-team All-WNBA in 1997, and the WNBA's Most Improved Player in 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, Wendy Palmer.
Wendy Palmer, all-out baller. Wendy, when I saw you this morning, you were telling me how important the Roxborough community has been to your development as a player and as a person. Tell us why.
It's home. It's home. That's where it all began. I had the amazing opportunity to be poured into by so many people that played, so many coaches, family, friends. So even though I left, I always longed to come back. And I've had some very good years being at home, and it's home. It's my foundation.
I know what an incredible athlete you are, how tough you were, and how humble you are. And I always remark when I see you, your game was so loud, but your personality so soft. Like you're so soft-spoken. How did you stay hungry and motivated?
I hate losing, and I competed at everything. It was a competition trying to get dressed first tonight. I just love competing. My dad and my brother's here. My dad, he loved to run. I don't understand why he liked to run so far and so long, but he would run from Roxborough to Durham to after working 8 hours and coach with the Durham Striders. But then we would get home and he would put us out at the top of the road and say, okay, first one to the driveway. And so I think it started there, just competing at everything. And we were running on a dirt road.
You're talking about your dad, Melvin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's usually when you see you, he's one of the first people you mention. Talk about your relationship a little bit with him and how he propelled you forward, because dad sometimes can bring that tough love.
Yeah, a lot of tough love. My dad, I spoke about it this morning. He was so big in the community with mentoring, teaching people how to swim, because we came from another community that people didn't know how to swim. He was a lifeguard, and so he would take people over to the park. And he just always tried to find places for us to go, safe spaces, places that people can come in the community, kids. And one day he had the notion to we had a basketball court, but it was a dirt, clay basketball court, so we couldn't play when it rained, it bothered us. So he had this notion, I'm going to have a concrete court. And I just used to watch him outside thinking, Mama's going to get you. You're tearing up the yard. I didn't really know what he was doing at first, but then we all pitched in, he built it, and when he built that court, they all came.
Two-time ACC Player of the Year, two-time All-American, 11 years in the WNBA, very successful career. How did you keep your focus on all the ways to continue to get better? Because your game evolved every year. I remember when you started shooting the three.
I got tired of being double and triple teamed. I had to get out of that paint. I mean, back then, and I'm sure it's pretty physical now, the rules were not the same. You had contact. And every year I knew that I had to be better than the previous one, and that was going to take a lot of hard work. I had great coaches like Randy Doss, especially in AAU here in Greensboro, that pushed me to the limit, pushed me past the point I thought I could go.
You have had a full circle moment, right? You grew up in North Carolina. You love the state of North Carolina. Your roots are here, and now you're getting recognized by the Hall of Fame. Tell us what this moment is feeling like for you and your family.
It's such a huge honor. I am so thankful to be able to come back to a place that has given me so much, allowed me to really look at myself and figure out what was next. I began playing AAU here in Greensboro with the Greensboro Emeralds. My longing to come back to the state, I was a coach at UNCG, so I got that opportunity, great opportunity. And then it was time to leave, and that was hard. And so I felt like I was just leaving North Carolina. I had to figure things out. But getting the call to come back, and I honestly thought that the Hall of Fame was always held in Greensboro, but I learned last night this is the first time. So it was very much a full circle moment to come back to a place that has meant so much to me.
If those of you did not see Wendy play, there was toughness, but there was pure joy. I'm not saying you did everything with a smile on your face, because that wasn't the case, but that pure joy that you get from competing, it's kind of like that adrenaline rush that you get. How would you describe that in the way you played? Because I want people to have a good sense for what your game looked like.
I definitely didn't do a lot of talking. I let my play speak for itself. I just wanted to, inside those lines, 94 feet, we would be friends later. I didn't have time to be friends with you if you were on the opposing team. We would be friends later. I just wanted to compete. I wanted to win. And if I had to run through you, I was going to run through you. If I had to run over you, I was going to run over you. I was going to do whatever it took to help my team be successful.
What does this moment mean for you to be into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame?
It is, I think I'm finally sitting with, I'm home. I am a part of the hall now, and again, I thought and hoped that this would happen, but I didn't know. And you know, on this side of 50, you just don't know. You're thankful for every moment you get, you know. I definitely got more days behind me, well, unless I live to be about 112, so we'll see. But, you know, I'm just thankful, and I'm really happy. And I think it came at the right time, because I had a thought of when it should come, or why hadn't it come more so. But now I see that I'm in a place where I'm able to receive it. And so it's the perfect timing.
Who would you like to thank tonight for your path?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank God for just blessing me with the amazing ability to play. I played through injuries. I played through so much. Played with longing to see my family and away from home, from being overseas. I would like to thank my family, my mom, my dad. Now, my mom is a silent warrior, so I think I kind of get that trait of not talking much, but when you do talk, it comes out. My brother who's here, who would never pick me on the team. When my dad, I was a part of the Backyard Basketball Association early, and I never got picked until '84. I was the first pick in the Backyard Basketball Association. My dad came out with his church shirt on and picked me to play, and it was on from there. It got to the point where none of the guys wanted to play against me, so, and even my brother. My aunt, my uncle, my best friends who have become my sisters, my best friend, brother. I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't be where I am without them, their support. And then my amazing son. My son came into my life at a time where I didn't know I needed saving. And he just changed the outlook. I really understood what life was all about. He brings me so much joy, and I'm so glad he wasn't able to see me play, but YouTube, he's all over YouTube, and I didn't even show him that. Again, my family. But just to be able to have this honor and go into the hall with him watching, I'm so thankful, and I'm happy. Again, right timing.
Greatness, my man, right here. Class of 2025, Wendy Palmer.
Thank you.
Following a standout career at E.E. Smith High School in Fayetteville, our next inductee became one of the first black quarterbacks to start at the NCAA Division I level. A star on the powerful Michigan State teams of the mid-'60s, he was a member of Spartan Big Ten and national championship teams in 1965 and 66. Following his collegiate career, he played 2 seasons in the NFL before becoming one of the most well-respected assistant coaches in the league, serving 37 years, 13 of those seasons as an offensive coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Ray.
Coach Ray, man, you look good. Wow.
Thank you.
So, what do you remember about being a pioneer back in the 60s at the quarterback position?
I remember the start. And I got my start in Fayetteville at E.E. Smith High School in a segregated situation where education was the paramount in our existence. And playing quarterback for E.E. Smith was the pinnacle of success. And at that time, I didn't know anything about pioneering. I was just playing for the love of the game and an opportunity to get an education.
Not just playing, but excelling. Not many of us in here can even claim 1 national championship, let alone 2, which you won at Michigan State. Tell us about that time playing college, competing at that level.
Well, I was fortunate enough, because of my high school career, to receive a football scholarship to Michigan State University, which was kind of a double-edged sword, because I played a position that wasn't totally acceptable and it was against the norm. I was a quarterback. And I was recruited to Michigan State, and I arrived there, and we had a coach, Duffy Daugherty, that was a visionary and had great courage, recruited a lot of black athletes out of the South, and I was amongst that group. And we had an environment there that was conducive to success, a culture that accepted players of color, and it was a situation where we bonded, we had good players, and we won a lot of games.
Back then, there was an AP winner and then a different organization winner, right? So there was a lot of controversy always over the decades until we had the college football playoff system the way we have it now, so we do have a declared winner. Tell us about the 10-10 tie game. You remember that game in 1966 against Notre Dame?
Yeah,
what happened?
A few times. If I told my son if I had a nickel for everybody that I ran into that saw that game, I'd be a real wealthy man. What came about, what transpired was the previous year, we went undefeated and won the national championship and went to the Rose Bowl in 1965. And at that time, in intercollegiate athletics in the Big Ten, they had a no-repeat rule. So you couldn't go 2 years in a row. So if you won it the second time, the second place team got to go and you went home. We had an exclusive pact with the Pac-8 and the Big Ten that they could only play in that game. And leading up to that season, my first start in '66 was against North Carolina State. And Earl Edwards was the coach at North Carolina State that had been an assistant under Duffy Daugherty at Michigan State and had recommended me to Duffy during the recruiting process. And as it turns out, it came full circle and I opened the game against them and I met one of the players that I competed against at NC State tonight. And we beat them 28-10, and I still have the game ball from that game. But leading into that year, the UPI and the AP were the two separate polls that ranked college football teams. And we started off number one in the UPI, and Notre Dame started off as number one in the AP. And we battled through the season, and the turning point of the season came in Columbus, Ohio, against the Ohio State Buckeyes. We were playing in mid to late October. We won the game in a monsoon, 11-8, and vice versa. Notre Dame beat their opponent, I think it was Duke, 50-6. So it flip-flopped. So we were one in one poll. They were two. We were one, and they were one in the other poll, and we were two. And it set up what became the game of the century, the national championship game. And in that game, we had on the field the first 6 players drafted in the National Football League draft played for Michigan State. 6 of the first 10. Bubba Smith, George Webster, Clinton Jones, Gene Washington, Charlie Thornhill, Harold Lucas. And the Notre Dame Fighting Irish had Terry Hanratty, Jim Seymour, Alan Page, Pete Duranko, Jim Harder. They were vulnerable as well. So we led with the week leading up to the game. There was a lot of talk about who's the best, is it Michigan State or is it Notre Dame? There was a lot of social implications at that time too, because Michigan State was the first fully integrated team in intercollegiate athletics at that time, with 2 black co-captains and a black quarterback. And Notre Dame only had 1 black player, and that was Alan Page, who was a great player in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and went on to become a Superior Court judge in Minnesota. And the build-up to the game was, the hoopla, or build-up to the game was Jim Seymour, Terry Hanratty, the quarterback for Notre Dame, and Jim Seymour, the star wide receiver. And so they kind of downplayed me and Gene Washington's. So they put them on the cover of Time magazine, Seymour and Hanratty. So the State News and the Lansing State Journal duplicated the picture on the cover of Time magazine with me and Gene. They didn't get the national press that they got, but that was the impetus to start it. And as the week unfolded, all of the credentials for media requests was the largest that had ever happened in the history of college football. And we played the game in East Lansing. was very cold, is what I remember. And we played the game. And the about 2 minutes left in the game, I was talking to Duffy, who was my head coach, and we were going over the last 8 plays of the game when we got the ball back. And then I kept looking at the clock. As he's talking to me, I'm looking up at the clock, and it's ticking down. And it's dawned on me that they weren't trying to score. They were trying to run the clock out. They weren't trying to score. They weren't going to give us a chance to get the ball back, and that's where the controversy started. And we never got the ball back, and the game ended in a tie. And it has lived on because, as I said earlier today, that I've been approached and given more credit for a game I didn't win than all of the games that I won. And the reason I think it's lived for so long is because of the social implications of the game, the competitive environment that it was in, and the fact that there won't be any more tie games, because now in collegiate athletics, the games play to overtime till somebody wins the game.
37 years in the NFL coaching.
Crazy, huh?
That's a long time to coach.
Yeah.
Must have been fun.
It was. It was a passion of mine. I love teaching and coaching, and I was good at it.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. Coached a lot of great football players, Hall of Famers. Coached for a lot of teams. Coached for 10 different teams in the NFL, some twice, and rose to the rank of offensive coordinator in the National Football League on a number of different occasions. So it was a very rewarding experience.
Do you look back now and realize some of the barriers that you crossed in your pioneering career and what it means to you, and what do you share off those experiences with others?
Well, when I look back, the biggest motivation and the impetus for me was Sandy Stevens. I was a junior in high school, or maybe a sophomore in high school, and Sandy Stevens was playing for the University of Minnesota. And back in that time, the way they introduced the team on the field, the guy would run up to the camera and announce his name and his hometown, and then disappear. And so I'm watching the game, this Rose Bowl game in '62, and this black guy runs up to the camera and he says, "Sandy Stevens, Uniontown, Pennsylvania," and he went off. And I thought, wow, there's a black quarterback playing major college football. So that was my motivation to put into my mind that, well, there's an opportunity for you to go farther if you have the ability and the desire. There's a chance for you that you could also end up in that position. And I look back on it now. When I played major college football at Michigan State, I was the only black quarterback starting in the Division I football. And it gives me great pleasure now to see that it's unusual to see a team that doesn't have a black quarterback. Even in the Southeastern Conference, the Southwest, the West, all over the country, and hopefully something that I did as an athlete, as a player, as a quarterback, has something to do with changing the landscape and helping the game, grow the game, and become a better game.
Well, you've definitely done a lot of that. Who would you like to thank tonight?
A number of people. First of all, my mom and dad. My dad for giving me a backyard of Seabrook Park where I could play ball all day long. And my mother, who encouraged me to be the best that I could be and she used to always tell me, no one has cornered the market on desire. That you can have as much desire as you want to and passion to be the best that you can be. My wife for 55 years, Edwina, that encouraged me and had the steadfast courage to stay with me through all of the moves and the changes in coaching as the coach goes through. My siblings, Donald and Pamela, Pat, and Craig. My kids are here, Robin, Michelle, and Jimmy III. I'd like to thank them for the sacrifices that they've made during this arduous journey. And most of all, Duffer Doherty, who had the courage to let me play, or give me the opportunity to play at Michigan State and changed my life. I'll be forever indebted to that opportunity and what it provided for me.
The Hall welcomes you back home, Jimmy Ray. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our final inductee of the evening was integral to the resurgence of minor league baseball in North Carolina in the early 80s. He bought the Durham Bulls in 1980 for just over $2,400 and revived baseball in the Bull City after it had shuttered 9 years earlier. He later befriended a Hollywood producer who developed the movie Bull Durham. In addition, he brought back to life baseball in both Asheville and Burlington. He was the president and publisher of Baseball America, one of the foremost baseball publications in the country for 18 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Miles Wolff.
Wow. All right, best for last in a house of greatness, Mr. Wolff.
Thank you.
Are you best known for your $2,400 investment in the Durham Bulls?
I think I'm best known for the Durham Bulls, but yeah, but at that point, minor league baseball had no value. And you picked them up for debts, or the league wanted a little money, so, but that was all I had, but it was enough to get a franchise.
Isn't that amazing when you look back now and you think about what the Durham Bulls has become and the movie, and people can recite lines from the movie like that?
No, it is amazing that, you know, a minor league team, I would say the Bulls are the most famous minor league team in the country right now. A lot of that had to do with the movie, but there are just lots of other things. And, you know, I was part of it, but the current ownership is so good, they brought it to great heights. So, yeah.
Which title serves you better? Author, entrepreneur, or commissioner?
I guess entrepreneur. I like starting baseball teams.
What about baseball? Because some people in here might think it's boring, but you made it fun. I mean, you know, it takes a long time to play baseball sometimes. Where'd the motivation come to just change the way people perceive the game?
Well, I don't know. I fell in love with it and grew up here in Greensboro. Would go to a bunch of games in Memorial Stadium down the street. And I just couldn't understand why there were only 400 or 500 people there. And it was, you know, this is more, it should be more, why is it appealing to me and no one else? And I just saw how they were running, and I thought, I can do this better. And then after college and the service, I thought, well, I'll try a minor league baseball team, and got one in Savannah, Georgia, and, you know, just, you can make it fun. I mean, it's a great game, and you know, you're there to give it to somebody.
You've done some wild, crazy things in the ballpark. All right, what's the craziest thing that you stepped back and went, wow, I can't believe I just did that?
Well, maybe the most unfortunate was a fireworks exhibit I had one night, and it was between games of a doubleheader, and I had really planned it well. And, you know, because I didn't want it after the second game, which would be too late, kids would have to go home. So I had it planned between the games of the doubleheader, but what I hadn't planned on was that the first game of the doubleheader would go 23 innings. And at 11 o'clock, I went to the umpires and said, can we delay the game and shoot these things off? Because the fire department that was shooting them off said, you can't repack them, you have to shoot them off. And the umpire said, no, Joe West is here, he would appreciate it.
Probably Joe did it, right?
Yeah,
Was it Joe?
Yeah, so finally at 1:30 in the morning, we shot them off. And I went down to my office after the game, and there were 10 policemen there to arrest me. So that was the most unfortunate promotion.
Where did your creativity come from?
I don't know. I mean, it's
Just throwing stuff up on the wall, writing it down. Let's try this. Let's try that.
well, lots of times, yeah. You know, let's do this. Let's do that. Particularly in baseball, you have, you know, a lot of freedom, particularly at the minor league level, and so, you know, we do different things. You know, to get, you know, we had 10-cent beer nights at that time, and I didn't know how popular they were till we had a rain out, and I had to count up the money, and about an hour later, I go and I hear cheering in the stands, and one of the beer stands hadn't closed, and they were just still cheering a team that wasn't playing.
You've had a very diverse career. You've been involved in lots of different aspects of sport. What's your favorite part of what you've done?
I think bringing baseball to a city that doesn't have it or has lost it, and turning the town onto it. That, you know, hey, 2,000 people showed up for this game because of, you know, of work I did, and you know you're giving them some joy on a summer's evening. You know, it's a good feeling if the game doesn't go 23 innings.
Yeah. You still go to the park?
Not as much. I need to go more because I do. You know, it's. I just love going to a baseball game.
What's your go-to concessions?
Well, it's always hot dogs. I'm trying to think. We at Durham, we introduced burritos. There was a stand called the Flying Burritos, and we did a lot of new concession things in Durham. You know, because usually in 1980, you know, a hot dog, bag of peanuts, and a beer, that was all you could get. And so you know, people wanted to eat at a ball game, so we did lots of different things. So that was always fun to see what people wanted.
You have brought so much joy to people's lives through the entrepreneurship and the baseball that you've created in all these communities that never had it. How does that make you feel? That's got to be a huge part of your legacy.
Makes me feel good. I mean, I did something called independent baseball that would take a lot of explaining, but 40 cities now have baseball because of independent baseball, and that makes me feel good. And just seeing the Bulls in Burlington and Asheville all still doing well, so that's always rewarding.
When you think about your career and your moment in time here, who are some of the people you'd like to thank for your journey?
Well, certainly my family, my wife Michelle, my kids Hoffman and Claire, my family who's over there somewhere. Yeah, they're just all the people that I've worked with. I had so many good people. you know, to do all the things that I've done, it really was, I'd have somebody, Dan Mouchon, who's over here, would do all the work. I'd say, let's do that, and I said, Dan, go get it. You know, so get somebody else to do the work for me. But there's just so many people. But yeah, I do thank everyone.
Fundamentally, sport is supposed to be fun, and you've made it fun for a lot of families across the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miles Wolf, class of 2025.
First off, Debbie, thank you so much. To bring out the stories and to do what you did tonight was wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. Hope you come back next year because we'll be right here in Greensboro next year. Really looking forward to it. 2 things to remember. Please look at the QR code. We'd love for you to be a friend of the hall. And if you get the opportunity, go by the Greensboro History Museum. The display is wonderful. Thank you. Drive home safely. Thank you very much.